Welcome to Reno's World Podcast, where truth and myth collide and every story gets a deep dive. I'm your host, Reno Rains, your guide through the unknown. Tonight's topic, Anunnaki and Ancient Aliens Theory. We're exploring the strange, the mysterious, and the downright unbelievable. And just so you know, we play an old movie to give you something to look at because, well, this is a podcast and we like to keep things interesting. So sit back, relax, and let's unravel tonight's tale. In the arid lands of southern Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, archaeologists in the 19th century unearthed the ruins of what would become known as one of the world's oldest civilizations, Sumer. Among the tablets, temples, and ziggurats, thousands of cuneiform inscriptions emerged from the dirt, bringing with them cryptic references to powerful sky beings called the Anunnaki. Their name, inscribed as those who came down from the heavens, would become the cornerstone of a theory that stretches from the deserts of Iraq to the outer edges of our solar system. This theory, the ancient alien conspiracy, did not originate in the modern era, but it was revived and repopularized in the 1970s when author Zecharia Sitchin published The 12th Planet, a book that made specific claims about the Anunnaki being extraterrestrials from a planet called Nibiru. According to Sitchin, these beings came to Earth approximately 445,000 years ago, genetically engineered humanity, and mined gold to sustain their home planet's atmosphere. It is critical to note that Sitchin's work, while influential, is not supported by mainstream Assyriologists or linguists. Nevertheless, his claims are based on actual Sumerian writings, though many experts argue his interpretations deviate significantly from scholarly translations. So, what do the ancient texts themselves say? Verified cuneiform tablets, cataloged in museums such as the British Museum and Istanbul Archaeological Museums, reference the Anunnaki as deities associated with the heavens and the underworld, forming part of the Sumerian pantheon. A clay tablet from the city of Nippur, known as the Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation epic, references the Anunnaki as divine judges. Another text, the Epic of Gilgamesh, places them at the heart of moral decisions and cosmic order. The Anunnaki were led by gods such as Anu, sky god, Enlil, lord of the wind, and Enki, god of water and creation. These figures appear consistently across Mesopotamian religious literature from roughly 2100 BCE to 500 BCE. No ancient tablet explicitly describes space travel, advanced technology, or DNA manipulation. However, proponents of the ancient alien theory point to symbolic depictions, such as winged figures operating what appear to be control panels or wearing wristwatches, as evidence of misunderstood technology. One such image is the Assyrian relief of Apkallu figures, often found holding a bag-like object that some theorists compare to modern-day astronaut gear. Another piece of recurring visual evidence is the Sumerian star map cylinder seal VA-243, which some interpret as showing the sun surrounded by 11 planets, including an extra one beyond Pluto. This seal is cited by Sitchin as visual proof of Nibiru's existence. However, professional Assyriologists like Dr. Michael Heiser and Dr. Paul Alamboliu have directly disputed this, pointing out that the seal likely represents astrological symbols rather than a literal planetary map. Still, ancient alien theorists maintain that there is more than symbolism at work. They often reference a 1902 translation of the Atrahasis epic, which describes the gods, the Anunnaki, growing tired of labor and creating humankind as a solution. The text reads, "When the gods, like men, bore the work and suffered the toil, they created man." The phrase "mixed clay with the blood of a god" is sometimes interpreted as a metaphor for genetic manipulation, though mainstream scholars view it as a mythopoetic explanation for divine human connection. In 1976, Sitchin claimed that Nibiru, home of the Anunnaki, had an elongated orbit around the sun and returns to Earth's vicinity every 3,600 years. However, astronomers have found no verified evidence of such a planetary body in our solar system. NASA astronomer Michael Brown, co-discoverer of the dwarf planet Eris, has repeatedly confirmed that any object of that size and trajectory would have been detected by now through infrared sky surveys. Still, belief in Nibiru and its inhabitants gained cultural momentum in 2012 when internet conspiracy theories tied its supposed return to Mayan calendar prophecies. This apocalyptic narrative, though entirely discredited, fueled interest in the ancient alien framework. Another area of intrigue is the architectural legacy of Sumer. Ancient astronaut theorists highlight the megalithic ziggurats, such as the ziggurat of Ur, suggesting their design reflects celestial alignment or extraterrestrial landing pads. In contrast, archaeologists argue the structures were religious temples, aligned for seasonal agricultural cycles, not alien activity. Adding to the mystery, researchers point to the sudden emergence of advanced writing, astronomy, and law in Sumerian society. The Code of Ur-Nammu, the world's oldest known law code, and detailed star charts appear to arise rapidly around 2100 BCE. Ancient alien proponents suggest this sudden leap in civilization indicates external intervention. However, historians like Samuel Noah Kramer have documented a gradual evolution of writing from pictographs to phonetic cuneiform over centuries. There is no scholarly consensus that this development occurred overnight. In sum, while there is undeniable evidence that the Sumerians believed in powerful beings called the Anunnaki and left behind texts and images that inspire questions, the leap to extraterrestrial origin is not supported by the primary text according to established academic sources. To explore how the Anunnaki became central to the ancient alien theory, we must examine not only Sumerian and Akkadian sources, but also the wider Babylonian and Assyrian mythologies, where these figures were later adapted. Across centuries of textual continuity, the Anunnaki remained powerful, often stern figures representing divine order. However, nowhere in these texts is there mention of spacefaring capabilities, spacecraft, or any direct technological language. Despite this, the hypothesis gained traction in large part due to coincidental cross-cultural similarities. Ancient alien theorists draw parallels between the Anunnaki and gods in other mythologies, such as the Nephilim of Genesis 6:4, the sky beings of the Dogon tribe, or the Viracochas of the Andes. Each of these groups speaks of beings who came from the sky and taught early humans the arts of civilization. But academic experts argue that these are mythic archetypes, not evidence of a shared extraterrestrial origin. In his comparative studies, a historian of religion emphasized that civilizing sky gods are a recurring motif in early belief systems, often used to explain the unknown. Another frequently cited artifact is the King's List of Sumer, which lists reigns of kings stretching tens of thousands of years into the past. According to the Sumerian King List, WB 62, housed in the Ashmolean Museum, pre-flood kings ruled for 28,800 years, 36,000 years, and even longer. Ancient astronaut theorists suggest these lifespans are indicative of non-human origins or alien lifespans. However, scholars widely interpret these durations as symbolic or religious in nature, similar to biblical lifespans in Genesis. During a 2001 interview, archaeologist Dr. Irving Finkel, curator at the British Museum and expert in cuneiform, addressed Sitchin's translations directly. Finkel confirmed that there is nothing in the tablets that refers to planets called Nibiru, or space travel, or alien beings. He added that these theories stem from mistranslations and imaginative reinterpretations. Nonetheless, the Anunnaki theory continues to attract global attention, especially in alternative research circles. In 2008, a controversial project called the Sumerian Translation Initiative aimed to use modern AI to translate cuneiform tablets in real time. Its early results, released in part through independent researchers, found no linguistic support for Sitchin's cosmic interpretations. Still, believers turn to megalithic engineering anomalies as indirect support. They point to structures like the Great Pyramid of Giza or Göbekli Tepe, arguing that ancient cultures lack the engineering know-how to construct such sites without external help. Yet neither of these locations has any documented historical link to the Sumerians or to the Anunnaki specifically. Despite the lack of consensus, the Anunnaki narrative continues to evolve online, particularly on platforms like YouTube and Reddit, where amateur theorists piece together cross-cultural timelines involving Mayan gods, Egyptian deities, and Mesopotamian texts. The prevailing question is always the same: why did so many early civilizations speak of gods who descended from the sky? Skeptics respond that such stories reflect human projection, an attempt to explain life's origins through celestial metaphor. According to Carl Sagan, Myths of sky beings may represent early human awe of the stars, not literal alien visitations. And then there is the question of Nibiru. NASA has officially debunked the idea of Nibiru or Planet X entering our solar system. In 2011, astronomer David Morrison addressed the topic directly. There is no credible evidence, none, that Nibiru exists. It is a hoax, perpetuated by the misuse of ancient texts and bad science. However, the theory refuses to die. In 2016, renewed interest surged with the proposed existence of a Planet 9 beyond Neptune, hypothesized based on gravitational effects. While some in the fringe community latched onto this, NASA clarified that Planet 9, if it exists, would be a cold, barren ice world, nothing like the alleged Nibiru described by Sitchin. In conclusion, the Anunnaki remain a source of both academic study and fringe speculation. Cuneiform tablets confirm that ancient Mesopotamians believed deeply in these beings as deities, beings of power, judgment, and creation. The ancient alien interpretation, however, remains largely a modern reinterpretation built upon selective readings, mistranslations, and symbolic art. Credibility analysis. Anunnaki as sky deities in Sumerian mythology, verified as true. Anunnaki as extraterrestrial beings from Nibiru, debunked, proven false. Cuneiform texts referencing space travel or genetic engineering, debunked, proven false. VA243 seal as a solar system diagram, debunked, proven false. Existence of Nibiru Planet X, debunked, proven false. Pre-flood king lifespans indicating non-human rulers, unverified, part of the legend. Wristwatch-like carvings in astronaut bags, unverified, part of the legend.